All right, you're watching the Power Hour, and today we're joined by author Jessica J.M. Abbott, whose upcoming memoir, The Definition of Insanity, takes us on a raw and powerful journey through survival, self discovery, and breaking generational cycles. Jessica, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing very well. First off, I want to say thank you so much for joining me on the show today.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Now, this memoir, The Definition of Insanity, uh, what inspired you to tell your story?
So honestly, I didn't start out trying to write a book. I was just trying to survive myself. Writing became a way to process memories and just that memories that didn't make sense and emotions that felt too big to say out loud. Over time, I realized that that story wasn't just my own, that a lot of people live that quietly. Over 60% of recorded abuse doesn't actually get reported until adulthood. And I wanted to give a language to what survival looks like when the wounds aren't visible.
All right. Now, the title itself is powerful. How did you come to connect the phrase, the definition of insanity, with your personal journey?
Wow. Yeah. Well, for me, insanity wasn't chaos. It was repetition. It was reliving the same emotional patterns over and over because they felt familiar. I kept finding myself in situations that mirrored my childhood, trying to earn love, trying to fix people. And trying to make myself small so others could feel big. It finally hit me that living Einstein's quote, which or Rita Mae Brown's quote, doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. It was also explaining my parents as well, like those patterns that they raised their children in, expecting that each one of us was going to react differently to the way that they were treating us.
All right. Now, you said repetition once felt like safety. Can you explain what that meant in your life?
Yeah, so repetition gave me control over my own life, or at least the illusion of it. When you grow up in chaos, predictability, even painful predictability, it feels safe because you can recreate situations you already know how to survive. It's easier than, the unknown on the other side. And it wasn't until I recognized that I was surviving and not really living that I was able to take that first step toward change.
Now, for viewers who are watching us right now, if you don't mind, get into a little bit of your story.
So, when I was a child, my parents divorced. It was brutal. It was a brutal divorce. 2 years, basically a drawn out war. And shortly after, my dad was in the military. He felt like he needed to find a wife to be able to watch us when he was on deployments. His mother was old and she was watching us for a while. And he found my stepmom. And in the book, a lot of names are changed to protect some characters in there. But she was extremely abusive. It started out, the very kind, motherly, nurturing uh, mom that you would expect until people were not around. And it was small things at first. And then she realized there were things that she could get away with, certain behaviors that did not leave a mark, dragging you by your hair. She had us basically like clean her home top to bottom. And if it was even a hair out of place, our noses were rubbed in it like dogs. There was a lot of abuse there. And then as I grew older, I'm not going to get into the whole thing. You can read the book
Right,
to
right.
understand a lot of what occurs in that part of my life. But in adulthood, after I was abandoned, when I graduated, I was left 14 hours away from home with directions to the 5 nearest homeless shelters and was told good luck.
Mm,
um put money all over your body so that if you get mugged, they only get part of it. Like there was a lot that went into that, and
wow.
I had to make it on my own. I got into college but could not succeed. I didn't know even how to apply for a job, public transportation, how to operate, government assistance. I knew nothing, so I basically SOL for lack of better
Yeah.
words, and that's how I met my ex-husband. He taught me a lot of those things, and my ex-husband actually um, took my daughter's life.
Whoa.
So uh, that's a lot of the big moments. There's a lot more in there. My everyone who's ever heard me tell even a portion of my story says you should write a book. This
Yeah.
is how, and what they didn't realize that I had basically been over time journaling the events, and I have now done that. And in March, you'll get to be able to see the entire, history of my life on paper, and it's very vulnerable for me. It's a lot to be able to tell everyone, and I just hope that it connects to somebody who's going through the same thing, who didn't know how to tell somebody, and knows that that there's someone else out there who felt that same hurt, and can connect with it, and maybe heal too.
Yeah. Now, wow, that's wow. Took your daughter's life. I'm not even going to get into that. I will just read the book. Um, at what point did you begin to recognize the patterns you were, the patterns you were repeating? You just, what point did you recognize that?
I think it clicked when I realized that I was reacting to people in my adult life
Mm.
the same way that I reacted to my abusers, either by shrinking, people pleasing, emotionally detaching. I could finally see that the connection between who hurt me and who I'd become. And the awareness was painful, but it was my first step toward change.
Yeah. Now, was there a particular moment or relationship that made you stop and say, I can't keep doing this?
Yeah, there was. I was in a relationship where I saw myself shrinking, becoming someone I didn't recognize. I was quiet, anxious, afraid to upset them. It was like reliving my childhood in a different body. And I realized I was teaching myself how to survive again, not be happy. And that was my breaking point.
Right. Now, when writing the book, what was the hardest truth you had to face while writing?
Um, it was healing from my daughter. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Take your time.
Um, Having to write all of that down and get to that point. Um, and then rereading it, when I was going through the editing process, reading my own story out loud and realizing how much I'd been through. Um, and still obviously am overcoming.
Right.
um, it was probably the most difficult part of it, was just having to relive it,
Yeah.
to put it on paper.
Yeah. How did you begin to process the unlearning you have been conditioned to believe?
Um, just when you're conditioned throughout your entire life for many things. You get told things over and over and over
Mm.
by people, by relationships, by your parents, by and things that may even seem small. You don't realize the amount of power that a single word can have on another human being. And I tried to be that person for other people. I realized how something very small that I can say can affect someone's emotional, you know,
Yeah.
state, and their reaction to themselves and something else that they might have been through. And just understanding another human being and unlearning, the same things that I had to teach myself to grow. It's been That would probably be the way that I would have to say that I, take care of that. My friends, you get into arguments, misunderstandings, and then having to say, well, I know why you are the way you are. Um, and you unlearn even negative patterns in your own life and ways you react to people too.
Mm. Did writing the book feel more like healing, confrontation, or both?
Both. So one, I was confronting those demons, those things in my past that I didn't want to even address. But once you got it out, and I got it on paper and was able to say, it's almost like saying, here, world, you can have this part of me. I don't want it anymore.
Yeah. Now, you write that people called insanity was actually endurance. Can you explain that on that idea?
Yeah, so basically, like that, like I said, that repetition was safety for me. That was how I was able to, predict what the outcome was going to be. So with my stepmom, for example, knowing how she was going to react, was a lot easier than not knowing. Making a choice saying, hey, I'm going to do this again just because I know that this reaction incited this response, rather than, let me try a different outlet because I don't know how she's going to react in this moment. That's it's the same thing for a lot of my life. Continuing to endure, what was painful for me because I was scared of the possibility of more pain or something else that I didn't know how to react to.
Right. Now, where are you at today in your life?
I am currently a general manager of a restaurant in Virginia. I am um, thriving. I have a 10-year-old son. Uh, we, we have a very, very good life. I'm very happy to say that it's turned around for me in a lot of ways. That healing, that working on myself. Because I didn't have the proper stepping stone, so to speak, to start my life out. I probably could have been here a lot sooner. Um, but I will say that the just working hard at my in my emotional health and my just regular your
Right.
job, your just every single day showing up, showing that even my staff get to see, like work is just not just time cards and table numbers. You have someone who's showing up every single day, making the most of their life. I don't want to give myself too big of a pat on the back, but I
You
know a lot
should.
of people say that they've seen my life and it makes them have a different perspective. And I hope that this book does the same for a lot of people as
Yeah,
well.
you should pat yourself on the back. You've come a long way, and look where you are today. Right, you made it through
Like,
the fire. You made it through the
exactly.
storm. Right. Now, what advice would you give someone who still feels trapped in the same cycles they're trying to escape?
So I would say don't do what I did. There's a lot of times that there are people you can speak to. There's ways out, and I think a lot more people are scared to tell their story because of the reaction from their abuser. But eventually, I got away from it for a reason, and I did speak out. And I think it's important that it happens sooner for those that are enduring it in the moment.
Right. And finally, what does the definition of insanity mean to you now after writing it and surviving it?
Uh, I still think it's the same thing. It's expecting a different result. I think it rings true for everyone who has to do the same thing and think that something different is going to happen. It's not. You keep doing the same thing over and over again, you're going to have the same exact result. If you want change, you have to be the change.
Absolutely. Now, when is the book expected to be released?
Mid-March of 2026, we'll have a definite date from my publisher soon. But I will be signing books at Barnes and Noble. It will also be available on all Amazon platforms.
All right, and they can stay tuned here, and we'll let them know when it'll be released as well.
Of course.
All right. Thank you so much for joining me on the show today, author Jessica J.M. Abbott.
Thank you so much for having me. I
Uh,
appreciate it.
Absolutely.